The art of happiness is the art of living deeply in the present moment. Welcome back to part 2 of our discussion on the art of living by Thich Nhat Hanh. The last video covered the first 3 chapters, emptiness, signlessness, and aimlessness, also known as the 3 doors of liberation. Today, we will go through the remaining topics of the book: Impermanence, Non-Craving, Letting Go, and Nirvana is Now. Impermanence. Thanks to impermanence, everything is possible. Nothing in this world is permanent. It's something that a lot of us forget on a daily basis, but must remind ourselves in order to be in touch with reality. Because of impermanence, plants are able to grow, we are able to grow, and healing and transformation can happen as well. Meditating on impermanence also helps us cherish the good moments and overcome the bad moments in life. Contemplating impermanence helps us touch freedom and happiness in the present moment. It helps us see reality as it is, so we can embrace change, face our fears, and cherish what we have. When we can see the impermanent nature of a flower, a pebble, the person we love, our own body, our pain and sorrow, or even a situation, we can make a breakthrough into the heart of reality. Thich Nhat Hanh points out that while a lot of us agree with the concept of impermanence when we read or listen to it, the majority of us behave and act as though everything is permanent, and that is a problem. So how can we actually live with the full awareness of impermanence? Through his writings, he makes it quite clear that there is really no easy instant fix, and that consistent meditation on impermanence can help us. He includes what he calls the 5 remembrances in this chapter to help us remind ourselves of the nature of impermanence in our lives. I am of the nature to grow old. There is no way to escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. There is no way to escape ill health. I am of the nature to die. There is no way to escape death. All that is dear to me and everyone I love are of the nature to change. There is no way to escape being separated from them. My actions are my only true belongings. I cannot escape the consequences of my actions. They are the ground upon which I stand. So perhaps it would be a good idea for all of us to start contemplating impermanence regularly, whether that be in the form of reciting these remembrances, writing in our journals, or simply taking a moment to mentally reflect each day. Our suffering is impermanent, and that is why we can transform it. And because happiness is impermanent, that is why we have to nourish it. Non-Craving. As soon as we realize that in this very moment we already have enough, and we already are enough, true happiness becomes possible. We also hit the topic of craving in the last video as well. How a lot of us are always chasing after wealth, fame, love, and the like. Thich Nhat Hanh digs deeper in this chapter, discussing how we have no need to pursue such things, and how dangerous they can be to our well-being. When we crave something, we often don't see the trade-offs involved in getting the object of our desires. We might want fame, not realizing there will be less privacy. We might want extreme wealth, not realizing we have more to lose when we are wealthier. We might crave lust, not realizing the possible long-term consequences. Just as there's a hook hidden in the bait, there is danger hidden in the object of our craving. Once we can see the hook, whatever it is we're craving simply won't be appealing anymore, and we'll be free. As Thich Nhat Hanh states here, in order for us to free ourselves from cravings and addiction, we must take a moment to recognize that cravings might have more harm than good, especially over the long term. We need to take time to stop and reflect deeply on our situation, to identify what it is we're craving. And then we have to identify the hook. What is the danger? What is the suffering hidden in it? We've got to see all the ways in which running after and craving these things has made us suffer. We can instead choose to point our attention to things that will provide long-term joy and fulfillment in our life. In the end, what we end up craving and desiring on a daily basis will determine what kind of life we will lead. Our mind is like a garden in which there are all kinds of seeds. Seeds of joy, peace, mindfulness, understanding, and love, but also seeds of craving, anger, fear, hate, and forgetfulness. How you act and the quality of your life depends on which seeds you water. Thich Nhat Hanh also says, at first, we think that if we let go of what we're craving, we'll lose a lot. But when you finally release it, you see that you have not lost anything after all. Letting go. When we know the art of how to suffer, we suffer much less. We are able to make use of the mud of our suffering to grow lotuses of love and understanding. Sometimes letting go of all the cravings isn't enough to touch peace. If we are still unable to find peace and happiness here in the now after getting rid of our unhealthy cravings, we must identify what else is holding us back. Thich Nhat Hanh states in this chapter that we need to point out what is entangling us and we must free ourselves from it. Oftentimes, it isn't immediately obvious to us what is hindering us from being peaceful and content. He suggests that we grab a piece of paper to write down the conditions of happiness we all have, and then on another piece of paper, make a list of everything that is entangling us and everything we need to let go of, including our ideas about happiness. Our idea of happiness may be the very obstacle standing in the way of our happiness. Let's explore this idea for a moment, that our idea of happiness is what is making us suffer. Perhaps we have a very stressful and soul-crushing job, but for some reason that job makes us feel important and successful. It also helps us provide for ourselves as well as our loved ones. But at the end of the day, we are deeply unhappy and restless. Yet we are still attached to this job because in one way or another, we were taught this job denotes our success in life. Is that actually true? Maybe it is time we reevaluate our idea of happiness, and that might lead us to take on a different type of work, even if it does not pay as well or look fancy on paper. Just like the concept of non-craving, where we have to know what the object of our craving is, we have to know what to let go in order to untangle ourselves. Sometimes this can be a physical object or a relationship with a person, but it can also be a perception or an idea we have inside of us. The art of living happily is also the art of transforming our afflictions. If we want to be happy, we need to identify what is preventing us from being happy. The path to well-being is the path out of ill-being. In order for us to obtain peace and happiness, it is essential for us to learn the art of transforming our suffering. Thich Nhat Hanh states that first, we must accept the suffering in ourselves, and then be able to embrace it with gentleness and compassion. After that, as we have already discussed, we have to identify the roots of the suffering. Nothing can survive without food. This is just as true for suffering as it is for love. If your suffering, sorrow, or depression has been going on for some time, there must be something that is feeding it. Every day, we are consuming our thoughts. We are consuming TV, movies, music, conversations, and even the collective consciousness and environment around us, which may be toxic. So be attentive and reflect deeply to see whether these elements are feeding your suffering at the roots. As we start to change our habits of thinking, speaking, behaving, and consuming, we cut off and uproot these sources of food, and our suffering will steadily begin to die. As it dies, it becomes compost, nourishing new flowers of understanding and compassion in the garden of our heart. Nirvana is now. Nirvana is a pleasant state of coolness and freshness that we can all touch in this very life. Nirvana is a word that originates from a rural dialect of ancient India. It refers to the pleasantly cool feeling of the ashes after a fire has completely gone out, according to Thich Nhat Hanh. The Buddha used the word nirvana to describe the experience of cooling the flames of our afflictions. Many of us are burning in the fire of our craving, fear, anxiety, despair, or regret. Our anger or jealousy, or even our ideas about death and loss, can burn us up inside. But when we transform our suffering and remove our wrong ideas, very naturally, we can touch a refreshing peace. This is nirvana. From this idea, we can see that suffering and nirvana have a very intimate connection. If we never suffer, then we cannot get a glimpse at nirvana. But in order to experience nirvana, we must transform our suffering. As you recognize, embrace, and transform your anger, fear, and despair, you start to experience nirvana. When we cool the flames of our anger and transform it into compassion, that is nirvana. When we feel the peace and freedom of walking and breathing meditation, we are touching nirvana. When we learn to stop and appreciate the present moment, we are touching nirvana. Allow me to close out the video with two final quotes from this last chapter. Nirvana is the ultimate dimension. It is the extinction and letting go of all notions and ideas, the concentrations on emptiness, signlessness, aimlessness, impermanence, non-craving, and letting go all help us get a breakthrough into the true nature of reality. Awakening and suffering always go together. Without the one, we can't have the other. If we run away from our suffering, we will never be able to find awakening. So it's okay to suffer. We just need to learn how to handle it. Awakening can be found right in the heart of our suffering. It is thanks to transforming the heat of the fire that we can touch the coolness of nirvana. Thank you for watching.